Hi, I am Ashwini. I have here with me author Todd Vickers, who's written 3 books. His latest book is on the 15th century philosophical poet Kabir Das. The relevance of Kabir talks about various concepts of self, death, misery, realization, and basically living consciously. So today we are here to discuss about meditation. Hi Todd.
Hi Ash, pleasure to be with you.
Same here. So, what according to you is meditation, and how should people perceive meditation?
We can look at meditation in 2 ways. We can look at it as inquiry into what we can experience, in other words, the altered states that we can create when we're meditating using some technique, or quieting the mind. And it's very easy for a spiritual seeker to become fascinated with the experiences that come and go in meditation, because they're so different from our typical or habitual states of mind. I'm not against altered states in any way. In fact, I think they're very important. They let us know that there are other experiences that exist beyond what we've experienced in the past, that the world is not limited to the experiences we've had so far. Depending on the school of thought, these different experiences that are generated in meditation will be explained in different ways. For example, if someone experiences some phenomenon in their body, one school of thought might call it energy, another might call it kundalini, another might call it chi, someone else might call it prana. If you're in the West, someone might say that you were touched by the Holy Spirit. And if you were talking to a skeptic, they might say, well, you had some kind of somatic experience that you haven't yet figured out a label for. Each of these explanations is untestable. We can see somatic experiences on an fMRI machine, but in terms of, are we labeling those experiences right? That's another question. All kinds of methods exist and will pull us out of our typical habits. By definition, that's the creation of an altered state. What interests me, though, is the being who all those states come and go within. The one that was here before the experience, that was here in the midst of the experience, that is also here if the experience passes. And because experience has a beginning, well, they have an end. It's good to understand what our mind can do, what it does to us constantly. I mean, if you took a pencil and a paper and you wrote down every thought that passed on your mind, assuming you could keep up, I mean, how many of them would be just complete nonsense? But some of those ideas we identify ourselves with. And whether you identify yourself with your nation, your race, your sex, your status, your family, or your spiritual practice, the identification or the conceiving of oneself is the same. And once you conceive of a self, now you have something that must be maintained, because the minute you stop thinking about it, it disappears. I want to say a little bit more about novel sensations. They may not be as mysterious as they sometimes seem to be. Our bodies are very selective. For example, we may be in a room with a ticking clock and not notice it unless we, for some reason, cast our attention towards it. There's a lot of sensations around us we just simply filter out. And when we're meditating, our attention is pulled away from our ordinary habits of mind, and we become aware of sensations. Whether those sensations are coming from outside of us or from within us becomes quite ambiguous. The mind and those experiences come and go in a kind of silence, a neutrality, a kind of spaciousness. You call it the room without any walls, ceiling, or floor. And ideas and experiences pass like clouds on the sky. It's a mistake when a skeptic dismisses novel spiritual experiences as nonsense, just because someone interpreted it with a word that doesn't really make sense. Someone may call their experience Shakti or Kundalini or energy. Well, they're not really saying anything. They're just giving a name to what they feel. Just because someone labeled it wrong or they don't know what to call it doesn't make their sensation bad or false. If someone has nerve pain, they may not know how to describe it. They say, well, it feels like my arm is on fire, or I feel like ants are biting my foot. We don't say, well, that doesn't make any sense, forget what you're saying. We understand that they're having a novel experience and they're just reaching into their language to try to find some way to describe it. And that's what a practitioner is doing when they say energy. That's all. The problem is when we start saying we know what those experiences mean, that this experience is from a past life, or this experience is me receiving some transmission from somebody else. It could be true, but then again, it might not be, and we can't prove it. And when we consider all the superstitions that were created in the past, that we consider absurd today, that we wouldn't even think of governing our lives by these superstitions, we realize that people in the past, our ancestors, made decisions based upon these beliefs. We don't want to make their mistake. It's one of the ways that we can honor our ancestors, is by looking at the mistakes they made and doing our best to at least make new mistakes. Even today, it's easy to forget that knowledge is just a conceptual representation of something else. Kabir said, knowledge ahead, knowledge behind, knowledge to the left and the right. But the knowledge that knows what knowledge is, that's the knowledge that's mine.
Wow. That's very deep.
Yeah. It's like treating ideas, as a representation of something else, as mind phenomena. Some of those ideas and concepts have more value than others, but it doesn't make them less ideal. Germ theory is not made out of germs. It's made out of ideas. It seems to me quite remarkable that a 15th century poet could intuitively grasp that the activity of mind is not real. It's just a reflection. It's just an interpretation. When we quiet the mind in meditation, we see that our concepts disappear. Our concepts about spirituality, our concepts about God, our concepts about ourself. This is when meditation becomes self-inquiry. And if we go looking for this thing we call I, it disappears like any other kind of thought in our mind. So why not keep quiet? See if you can actually find this thing we call I. And if we cannot, then we have no reason to believe that such a self is who we are. Then we don't have to defend it. Then we don't have to protect it from a threat. Idea of self is very useful. But just like when you're falling in a dream to your death and you wake up and realize that the sense of self that was about to die isn't real, that's a great relief. And that relief is the same when we are awake.
Thank you, Todd. For more videos, subscribe to our YouTube channel. To get more information about Vivriti, log on to www.vivriti.org. Thank you for watching.